Welcome to this lesson on an intro to quadratic functions. A quadratic function is a function in the form f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And you know it's a quadratic function because the highest exponent is a 2. A root is another name for a zero or a solution of a function. It's also where a function crosses the x-axis, also known as the x-intercepts. Another new word is a discriminant, and that's used to determine how many roots a quadratic function has using the formula b squared minus 4ac. And those variables are coming from here, a, b, and c. So you can find how many roots any function has, any quadratic function, by using that formula. If you get a positive number when you use that formula, that means there are 2 real solutions. And by real, that just means a real number. If you get a discriminant of 0, that means there is 1 real solution. If you get a negative number when you use that formula, a negative discriminant, that means there are no real solutions. All right, so let's try one here. How many solutions does 3x squared minus 4x plus 10 equals 0 have? And this equals 0, you'll see that a lot. That's just used when we are solving, which we are going to get into in the next lesson. You set it equal to 0 to solve, so that's why the function is set equal to 0. So we're going to use the formula b squared minus 4ac. So the coefficients are right here, a, b, and then the constant of c. So b squared, negative 4 squared, minus 4 times a times c. All right, so negative 4 times negative 4, that's 16. And then 4 times 3 times 10, that's 120. So 16 minus 120 gives me negative 104. So because that is a negative discriminant, that means that this quadratic function has no real solutions. All right, let's try a couple more. So find the number of solutions. So our a is 1, our b is 8, and our c is 16. So b squared minus 4ac. All right, so that's 64 minus 64, which is 0. So that means this quadratic function has 1 real solution. And again, we're going to learn how to find what the actual solutions are in the next lesson, but we just want to determine how many there are first. All right, number 2, use the discriminant to determine the number of solutions. So a, b, and c. So b squared minus 4ac. So that will be 36. And let's see, 4 times 2 times negative 8. And it's actually a negative 4 times a negative 8. That means it's going to be positive 64. And that gives us a positive 100. So if it's a positive discriminant, that means there are 2 real solutions. So when I solve that quadratic function, I'm going to have 2 real number solutions. All right, pause the video now and try 3 and 4 by yourself. All right, number 3. Let's see, 5 squared minus 4ac. That's 25 minus 88. That gives me negative 63. So since it's negative, it has no real solutions. And then number 4. So 14 squared, that's 196. Negative 4 times 2 times negative 1, that's positive 8, which gives us 204. That's a positive number. That means this quadratic function has 2 real solutions. Okay, let's continue on. So on the right is the graph of the function f of x equals x squared minus 1. So this is what it looks like when you graph a quadratic function. And we're going to go more into graphs soon. But a quadratic function always has this U shape, which is actually called a parabola, which we will learn. But let's talk specifically about the roots. So remember, roots are solutions or x-intercepts or zeros. It's where the function crosses the x-axis. Okay, so this one actually has 2. It crosses twice. It crosses at x equals 1 and x equals negative 1. Or you can write them as ordered pairs. So 1, 0, negative 1, 0. Same thing because this is the x coordinate. All right, next, let's factor the expression x squared minus 1. So we talked about factoring in the last unit. And if you remember, this is actually a special case called the difference of 2 squares. One is a perfect square. This is an even exponent. So this is the difference of 2 squares. So when I factor, remember you open 2 parentheses. You put the square root of the first term in the first part of the parentheses. So the square root of x squared is just x. And then remember, it's always plus and minus. And then you put the square root of the second term, which is just 1. So that is that expression factored. And I just got this expression from here. This is the expression that represents this function. All right, now we want to set both of these factors equal to 0, and we're going to solve. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. All right, so let's see, minus 1, x equals 1, plus 1, oops, sorry, that's negative 1, and then 1. So what do you notice? Pause the video now and write down what you notice. Okay, you should have noticed that our answers here are the same as our answers here. They are the roots. So that must mean that the factors have something to do with the roots or the solutions of a quadratic function. And they do, and we're going to learn that. All right, so let's keep going. Number 1, find the number of solutions. So we're going to use the discriminant, a, b, and c. So let's see, 5 squared minus 4, 3, negative 2. That's 25. And then plus 24, that's 49. So we have a positive number. That means 2 real solutions. All right, number 2, same thing. Go ahead and try that one by yourself. Okay, so A, B, and C. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. So let's see, negative 8 squared minus 4, 116. So that would be 64. Minus 64, that's 0. So 0 means it has 1 real solution. Number 3, the function f of x equals x squared plus 2x minus 3 is graphed below. Use the graph to determine the roots. All right, so this has 2 roots, so 2 real solutions. And we could prove that when we did the discriminant of this, we would get a positive number. And these roots are x equals 1 and x equals negative 3. All right, and then number 4 says to factor the expression from number 3, which is this, set both factors equal to 0 and solve and see what we find. Okay, so this is a trinomial. And remember, when you're factoring a trinomial, you take the factors of C, the only factors of C are 1 and 3, and you want to make them add or subtract to equal B, which is positive 2. All right, so that means I need a positive 3 and a negative 1. 3 minus 1, that's 2. 3 times negative 1, that's negative 3. All right, so now that we have it factored, let's set these equal to 0 and solve. So minus 3, x equals negative 3. Plus 1, x equals 1. And look, when we factored and solved, we got the same roots as we did from the graph. So the factors will give you the roots or the solutions or the x-intercepts of your graph. All right, you can go ahead and stop the video now, and in the next lesson, we'll go more into solving by factoring.